Welcome everybody. You are watching City on a Hill Surf Coast Cafe, and I'm Louis Glazebrook. And today the tables are being turned, and I am being interviewed by the interviewers. So can I throw now to Simon and Michelle?
Hi guys, how's it going? I'm Simon.
I'm Michelle. Welcome. We're really excited about this opportunity to, chat with Louis on behalf of you all.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So the good old Surf Coast Cafe, we're right into it, and yeah, Louis, how's it going?
I'm going pretty well. I'm going pretty well.
What have you ordered to drink from Surf Coast Cafe today, Louis?
Yeah, the Surf Coast Cafe. I've been quite impressed with the quality of beverages that are being pumped out by these guys. Very, very good. I typically don't have a standard order. If I'm feeling a bit fruity, I'll go an almond latte because, I'm a little bit nuts, some might say. Otherwise, if I'm feeling a bit low, I'll usually go the mocha option. I know baristas probably hate it when I get a mocha because, you can't taste the coffee, but yeah, that's my Dutch sweet tooth coming through.
How many coffees would you have a day, or, caffeinated drinks, so to speak?
Oh, good question. Depends on the day. Depends on the month. So I'll cycle between caffeinated and decaf coffee. I'll generally might have 3 coffees a day, but maybe max I'll try and keep a maximum of 2 of them as caffeinated, and then I'll try and do a month where I just have decaf 24/7.
So you actually have decaf coffee?
I do. Yes.
It's a bold statement.
I know.
And if I can give a quick plug to Cecilia Coffee Grinders in South Australia, pretty good. They're my suppliers. Otherwise, I am trying Ocean Grind decaf beans. So I figure if Ocean Grind are doing decaf, then, I'll just blame them.
Yeah, and there's a link in the description, guys, and we get a little bit of credit every time you order through that affiliated link.
That's right. So we would love some credit. That's right. So we would love some credit.
So, Louis, we're all in quarantine at the moment. I don't know about you, but at times our household is fairly crazy. I'm sure yours is completely settled and normal. But what are you looking forward to when all this is over? When you're allowed out of the house for the first time, what are you going to do?
Yeah, good question. I think the first thing that we're going to do as a family, or probably the first thing I'll do, is as soon as that quarantine gets lifted, we've just moved to Torquay, and we have a park directly opposite our house, and I'm just going to take all the kids and we're just going to go swing on that swing like it's never been swung on before.
We've got a massive skate park, across the road from you,
yeah, which I feel like I'm probably not a great person to have living opposite a skate park because I'm a bit of a lanky unco, but I'm prepared to dust off the old skateboard and have another crack at it.
Yeah. So we're talking about Louis and Louis' family. What is Louis' family?
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm married to Esther. Esther, she is amazing. We've been married now nearly 10 years. It'll be 10 years in January. And we've got 3 beautiful little girls that have been given to us. And, they're ours. We say they've been given to us by God. It helps us look after them better when we remember that they're technically a gift.
All children are blessings and some doubly.
That's right. Yeah, little blessings. And that
constantly remind ourselves of the blessings as well.
That's right. Yeah, that title has been challenged during this time of social isolation. But yeah, in his strength. Our eldest daughter is Evelyn, and she's 6. We have Audrey, who's 4, and we have Winifred, who is 2, going on 18.
Yeah, that's.
So you mentioned that you just moved to Torquay. What's brought you to Torquay, and where did you grow up?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good one. So, what brought us to Torquay? So. Jesus did. No. So we got a lot of things along, and maybe I'll have to backtrack if you want the in-depth answer. So my background is I'm a little bit of a mongrel Victorian. I've grown up in different sort of country Victorian towns in the north and in the east of Melbourne, so Gippsland area, then Goulburn Valley area. moved around a lot with my family, often being near farms, but sort of in the urban part of the town. So Esther and I met when I studied physiotherapy in Albury, up at Albury Wodonga, and it was graduating that course that we moved to Geelong. Because Esther was from Warrnambool and she wanted to live in another coastal town, and so I had a job offer down here, so we took it, moved down, and worked as a physio for a while, but then transitioned out of that as I took on a theology degree, and then I've made the move working within City on a Hill in Geelong, and then there was the transition to pastoring City on a Hill Surf Coast, and we really felt like God was leading us to move down and be with the church family and just go all in, with our brothers and sisters down here. So that's sort of the short story of how we've made it to Torquay now. We're still pinching ourselves that we're here. It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty good, especially
especially this side of the creek.
I was going to be very inclusive.
It is amazing though. It's amazing. We were driving. This is like 3 days ago. We're driving home. So what is home now? And coming down Torquay Highway, I think it is, and we pulled off that ramp, right from Mount Dunedin Road, coming down that hill, when it clocks up to 100 k's an hour. And for a moment, I was just like, where are we going? So it's like the only reason we go down this road is to do something nice. Like we're either going to be doing church, or we're going to go to the beach or hang out and do something a bit special. And then I was just like, wait a minute, we're driving home. This is incredible.
You get special every day now.
That's right. Well, at school, they always called me a special child, but I don't know if that was...
Well, we can see that in your adulthood. So you mentioned that you went from physiotherapy, like a practitioner, to theology. Okay, that's pretty wild. That's like, for me, it's a big change. Big change. What's the go with that? What was the thought process? Why? What?
And the other thing is, like, physio, that's not just like, I'll be a physio for a while. It's like a lot of training to become a physio.
Yeah.
And then you've just said, theology now. So what's behind that?
Yeah, no, thank you. Look, it's quite funny, actually. I remember when I was studying physiotherapy, the church that we were going to, there was a girl. She was about 5 years older than Esther and I. And I remember she was at that stage transitioning out of physiotherapy to do a ministry apprenticeship with the church. And I still remember as clear as day standing in the little morning tea area and looking up at her and being like, why are you giving up physio? Like, to go to, like, that, you've got the best job in the world. Like, why would you give up physiotherapy to go into ministry? It's like, what are you doing? Like, seriously. And then, God's got a sense of humor. Look, I think, why make that transition? I guess I've always really just grown up with a great, I guess I've just called it a ministry monkey on my back. There's always felt like, God's put a real longing on my heart to be in the church, to be, serving him. Jesus, he says, go therefore, make disciples. And I wanted to put myself in whatever the right context was that, for the way that God had wired me, and the way that God, and effectively had wired both Esther and I when we were married. And so, I actually was quite apprehensive towards any sort of vocational ministry growing up. Like, I used to think, why if everyone became pastors, there would be no one in the normal workforce to actually engage with people that weren't Christians. So we're like, why would you do that? And the thought of ever preaching a sermon used to just terrify me. Just that thought of just like, hold on a minute, like, this is the Bible, this is God's word. You get this wrong, it's just like, it says that you'll be judged more harshly. So it's like, I don't want that.
It's responsibility.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, then there's the great blessing of being in ministry where you get to see people come from like darkness into God's glorious light, safe. But then there's also the hard stuff, like you're dealing with people's problems, like big problems. And it's just like, I want a job where I can just clock off, clock on. And that was my old way of thinking, I suppose. And I suppose what happened is as I was doing more work as a physiotherapist and also, but at the same time doing more work within the church. So by this stage, I was on the pastor pathway at City on Hill Geelong, had a few sermons under my belt by this stage. I guess had seen the inner workings of a church and, what does it look like to be doing ministry, all that sort of thing. And then, so I guess there was something going on there. God was working on my heart in that way. And sort of two things were happening at the same time. While I was working as a physiotherapist, my boss was really, he had me on a leadership track to take on the clinic. So he'd be able to start a new one under the same name. It meant more management responsibilities, all those sort of things. And it was great. It was great managing people, great seeing people as physios, really enjoying it. But at the same time, it was around the time of City on Hill casting their 10 cities vision. And I was hearing more about the need for church plants. It was one of, the most effective ways of reaching people with the good news of Jesus. As our population grows, we're not seeing churches being planted. And I think, God just really took a grip of my heart. And around this time of being upskilled in the civilian workforce to manage a physio clinic, I started thinking, well, if my secular boss thinks I can look after a physio clinic of 500 members, then surely maybe there's a few skills there that can be transferred into a church. And I guess the more I thought about that, the more I started thinking about, okay, well, what gifts has God given me? How do Esther and I feel like we're wired together to serve in the church at the same time? And in the end, it was probably just a holy discontent. It wasn't, I never stopped liking physio. I still love it. Any chance I can get to, help someone out in that way, I want to take hold of it. But it was just, I really enjoyed serving in the church more. There was a sort of a fateful night where I'm sitting there with an A4 sheet of paper with, my third pros and cons list of, do I go to theological college and have a crack at this church planting thing? Mm. And Esther was just like, this is, if you know Esther, this is very unlike Esther, but she just looked at me. She's like, sometimes you just got to take a leap of faith. And I was like, damn, she's so right. So it was just like, all right, screw it. What's the worst thing that can happen? Let's just jump in and, theological college full time, still hanging on to a bit of physio stuff there. And then it was slowly a process of leaving that boat and those nets to then sort of grabbing with both hands. And I guess it's just really been a bunch of confirmations from God since then. It's never been, I've been like, oh, what am I doing? This is an absolute joke. It's just been like, all right, next season for us and going on from there.
I think when people, I'm going to jump in and interrupt you here, but when people think about a pastor, often we just think of what you do is stand up on Sunday and give a sermon. Mm. And I'm sure that your week consists of a lot more than just preparing to speak for 1 hour. Hopefully, sometimes it seems to go on a bit longer.
Yeah, a bit longer.
Yeah. I don't think I've cracked an hour sermon yet, but if you'd like me to.
Well, we'll be keeping notes on how or rather our kids will be.
As long as people don't fall out of windows dead, that's kind of fine.
But in a normal week, and let's think perhaps non-quarantine week, what does your life look like? What are you doing behind the scenes that perhaps we don't see?
Yeah, no, good question. Oh, look, I don't really do anything. It's just I just download a sermon from.
What was I thinking?
Yeah, just download a sermon from YouTube and memorize it. I didn't even do the prep. No.
Take the leap. Work 1 day a week.
Yeah, I mean, look, a week would be. I mean, yeah, there's. It feels like so long ago. So Monday is generally. I want to expose myself to the text that we'll have coming up for the Sunday following. So it's doing a bit of work in the text Monday morning. I sort of try to divide my days out into thirds. So I've got a sort of Monday creative slot, morning creative slot, afternoon is sort of administration slot, and then evening is trying to engage with the church because typically, you know, if your church, if in the church, everyone's at work, and you can't, you know, during the day, and so I can't typically go and meet people face to face because they're all in their job. So the evening slot is when I try to engage with people. So yeah, Monday is exposed to the text, so I can start thinking through that. I like to sort of really chew on whatever the sermon is going to be for like a whole week or even 2 weeks in advance if I can. And then, yeah, Monday is, so the afternoon is administration, emails, start thinking ahead to what the service on Sunday might look like in relation to what the text is beginning to raise. Yeah, so, you know, I guess I'm a fan of not being constrained to the same template every single time, but, you know, we've got this word of God. How are we going to respond? Tuesday typically looks like I call it like a Melbourne day. I'm on the train in the morning, and I'll be away for most of the day to head to the central offices, and that's where I do a lot of meetings with whether it be Guy or Ian Scarborough, a lot of the exec pastors, and Steph Judd, who heads up the Leadership Academy there, and all just the random stuff that you could just send an email, but it's much easier and much nicer to meet with someone face to face and get a lot of questions answered.
Is that usually, sorry, I missed that. Was that usually a train trip or a drive down?
Usually a train. Yeah. So the train is really good. You know, I get a lot of reading done. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Wednesday is try to make that sort of a sermon writing day. So that's where I'll allocate more time than just the Monday morning effort. So it'll bleed into the afternoon. And generally Wednesday, I'll try just to not meet with anybody. It's just like, okay, turn off the phone and just focus on this. Do what you might call deep work on the text that's coming up. And then, yeah, that's probably it. So Wednesday's probably more or less sermon writing day with the administration on the tail end. Thursday is, I try to pile in a lot of meetings on Thursday face-to-face. So whether I'm meeting with Kristen to try to talk about things to do with City Kids, whether I'm, so with City on Hill, I'm doing this Leadership Academy stream. So there's a path to lead pastor. There's a bunch of things I've got to do that are associated with that. I'll do a lot of the assessments associated with Acts 29. And what else? And Thursday is our gospel community night. So we'll be doing that in the evening. That's the big broad picture. Friday, we try to take Friday off. And then Saturday, I'll take Saturday morning off. And then pretty much from 1 o'clock, I sort of shift back into gear, work mode, and preparing for the Sunday to come. So that's, Thursday afternoon actually is when the service gets finalized as well on the Thursday. Sorry. Saturday evening, prepare for the Sunday, and then go from there. And of course, there's, variations to all of that with the...
Yeah, that sounds chock-a-block. That actually sounds like a bit more work than I sort of expected of a pastor.
If we take a big step back, I mean, obviously this is what your life consists of now, but how did you become a follower of Jesus? What led you to make that decision?
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm so blessed to be raised in a Christian home. So my mum and dad, uncles and aunties and grandparents on both sides, all believers. Just by God's grace, it's just wonderful. So I guess there's never really a day that I wouldn't have considered myself a Christian. But I guess I can break that up into specific moments in time that are very memorable, that stand out. I'm like, yeah, that's when I got more real. I think it was probably in year 9. I was going to a youth group, and we're at a Pentecostal church at that point, and there was I can't remember anything about the night except I can't remember what the sermon was on, but I just remember getting to the end of the sermon and just being like, oh man, I can't believe Jesus, why would Jesus die for me? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't earn that. Like, why me? Like, I don't deserve that. That's, I think, and then, the youth pastor's just like, yeah, mate, that's the point. Like, you don't deserve it, but that's how good Jesus is. I'm like, okay. And I think that's when I really got grace. And, amazingly by by God's hand. I was with another guy at my high school who was also a Christian in that youth group. So we sort of rode the waves of this, the 3 terrible years of high school of hormones and puberty. And when everyone else was partying and getting smashed and sleeping around, we were just like, no, we're going to be awesome Christian kids, go and shoot stuff and ride around the farm and milk cows instead, because, remember the Creator in the days of your youth type thing. So that was probably pretty significant. And then after, when I left high school, I joined the army in the infantry. And that was like a real significant time for me too, of just real growth. That's, I guess, when the Bible just really came alive, sort of the time when, when Jesus is all you have, you realize he's all you need. Because everything gets stripped away when you go through army training, and all you're left is your ugly haircut and your dirty knees from crawling around in the mud. But they still give you a Bible. So I was just like, well, I'm going to read this. So that was great time. It was sort of make it or break it for me, I felt. And it made it. And then from there, when I sort of, you go to university, very formative years, it was great to be part of a Christian union there. I sort of got swept up in the craze of I was like, podcasts, wow, check this out. So I was smashing Timothy Keller, John Piper, Mark Driscoll, all of these dudes that's just like, they just would shoot so straight and they'd cut you in half, but at the same time, they would be, God piece you back together. So yeah, I guess there were some significant moments for me. That really thankful for, and then just really, really thankful for just guys in my life that took a risk with, a young buck who was willing to stick his neck out and have a crack. And yes, I was really, really thankful for that. And, God's obviously been good in it all.
What do you think, I think it's really interesting the journeys we take and where we come from, but at the same time, God never stops teaching us things. What do you think what are you learning? What is he teaching you, challenging you about now?
Yeah, no, good question. I think right now, in this season, and there's probably 2 things I would say. That the first one is probably the obvious one, but if God can completely disrupt your life, if he wants to disrupt your life, he will and he can, and he'll make it obvious. And I think that's, I've always had a sense of that, but never, I guess, really experienced it. And I suppose I'd always been, my personality is, I'm very hesitant to, it's just like pave your own way. There's that thinking in life where it's just like, reach for the stars, and if you miss, you'll hit the moon, or whatever it is. So I've been very hesitant to that. I don't like sort of driving the boat too hard, but rather I want, if there's an opportunity and it presents itself, I'd rather be like called out for it. If someone goes, you'd be good, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll have a go. So I've been trying to live a lot of life like, if you're faithful with the little things, God will entrust with you bigger things. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I just wanted to do well with what he'd been given. He'd given Esther and I and the kids to do well. But as many people in the Surf Coast know, that the story was like, it's been a couple of big dramatic changes in the last few months for everyone. And yeah, so just, it's been really cool to sort of see and experience and learn that God, he can just enter in, and then when he wants to do something, he will, and he'll make it obvious that it's him. So that's really cool. I think, yeah. And that's pretty awesome. I mean, I'm learning other stuff if you want me to go into that.
Nah.
Cool.
Oh, that's great.
How about Simon? Really wanted to know just some really quick questions.
Some quickies.
Fire away.
Yeah. So, okay, if you were favorite book, first of all, favorite book.
The Bible.
That's not. Yeah, that's not the Bible.
That is not the Bible.
Favorite fiction book.
Oh, fiction book. I really like Screw Tape Letters. Is that that's fiction? What's that?
That's non-fiction, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. I didn't exactly know what to say. It's kind of like, I really like, they're the classic ones, like Pilgrim's Progress is really cool. Like, I go back to that one. Yeah.
Favorite documentary?
Oh, I do like a good doco. That's hard. Favorite doco. I don't know what my favorite one is.
Mention a good one.
A good one.
Good. Or best recent one you've watched.
I suppose this is. I like this one not because it was good in terms of what it was. So I watched the Game Changers documentary, which is trying to get everyone to turn vegan. And I liked that one because I thought it was a fascinating sort of study of how to present a story and how to make a compelling argument for something. Even though, there's probably people that love it. Even though some of the stuff's a little bit, there's some pseudoscience there, there's a bit of like, bro science, all that sort of stuff. But I really love the story that they take you on through that documentary, and the way that they try to make it compelling. So I think maybe that's I'm enjoying something else as opposed to what is actually going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Favorite band?
Oh, I don't know my favorite. I do like Citizens and Saints. They come out a fair bit. If you want to go like okay, all right, Preacher Boy, favorite Christian band. I also like the Black Keys. Jack Johnson, the White Stripes. They sort of come up pretty frequently in my playlist.
And what is last one? Two more.
Oh, I've got one too.
You got one? Three more. Most frequented YouTube channel.
Oh, yes. Oh, I've got a few that I go back. So one I've just recently discovered is, I think I'm going to say her name wrong, but Laura Camp or something. She's this Swedish woodworking chick. She's amazing. She does these like woodworking projects to like chill hop, and they're just these beautiful things that she makes out of like pretty much all of them is out of like laminated board, and so that's really cool.
Yeah. That's we've been watching jars of insects on YouTube.
What did you have one?
If you could have one final meal, what would it be?
Yeah, no, I've thought about this. I would have like an all-you-can-eat like Mexican like showdown of just like, hey, here's the buffet. We've got sour cream, guacamole, soft tortillas, burritos, pulled pork, slow cooked beef, and chili chicken. Hot sauce section is over there. Coriander's over here. Go nuts, enjoy yourself, and kill yourself.
Yeah. So pretty much a massive sizzler.
No, but like very, very Mexican. It has to be very Mexican.
And one more.
What TV series are you watching now?
Two more then. What are you watching right now?
I don't really watch TV. Yeah, so we don't have Netflix. We don't really watch any telly. I'm sorry, I'm going to be really boring there. Generally, I'll be consuming maybe a little bit of YouTube content, but I tend to not watch telly.
If there was, which fictional character do you most relate to, whether it's in literature or movies or television or anything like that? What literature character or what fictional character do you most relate to?
Frank Woodley.
Frank Woodley, what's that from?
You know Lena Woodley?
Beta, stand up. It's like...
No, I don't know. That's a tough one. I really like he's Foot Rot. Anyone that knows Foot Rot Flats, I really love Dog from Foot Rot Flats.
That's a good one. Yes.
Yeah, I do like Dog.
Well done.
He's really cool.
Yep.
I don't know. Who do you think? Who do you think I represent as in a fiction?
Your chest reminds me of Captain America. That's all I got.
Actually, one sec. I'll show you this to you. You'll love this. It'll be worth it. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll be right back after these quick messages.
We need like a little musical interlude.
I will leave. Yeah, I'm sorry. This is probably an inappropriate time to go off screen. I'm going to leave my clothes on.
Thank you. On behalf of all of our viewers, thanks, Louis.
This was made for me by one of the guys at City on Hill Central. So he bought this Captain America. What he did was he's one of the media guys, and he got fancy on Photoshop, and he turned it into Captain Louis.
Very good.
It's
classic.
So yeah, if you ever come over to my place, you can ask to have a look at this. It's actually very hilarious, the stuff that he's putting on the back. He's basically just taken my Instagram bio and copied it on here with a couple of extra little embellishments that are quite funny.
Oh, very good. And that's all I had.
Yeah, well, thanks, Louis, for letting us interview you and learning more about you.
On the Surf Coast Cafe.
That's been great. Thanks, guys.
Tune in next week when we...
I think it's cut.
Oh, did you just cut it?
No, I haven't cut anything.
Well, tune in next week.
Remember to like and subscribe down on the bottom, and we'll see you next time.